Hello and welcome to the 34th edition of the Jaguar Report podcast. I didn't bother to check before this one, so it might be
Sure,
the 33rd or something. But
sure.
welcome. We've got a lot to go over today. It's been 2 whole weeks since we recorded last. I think we're doing a little bit better in that regard. But my name's Gus Logue. I'm joined by John Shipley, who's just in Indianapolis for Combine Week. How's it going, Chip?
Hey, you're absolutely right. By the way, 34th. Look at you.
34th? All right.
Yeah, look at you.
Hey,
Look at you.
hey.
No, I'm doing good, man. I'm happy to be back in Florida. That was the second time in my life I've ever flown. Coincidentally, both times have been to Indianapolis for separate events entirely, and it was all right. I can see the pros and cons to it. I didn't.
So, okay,
I
well,
didn't
my
die
first
though.
question is we've got a lot of like Jags news to go over, but obviously we're going to hit the combine first. And my first question is, did you end up going to Elmo's or whatever that?
No, we went to a place called Tony's Steakhouse, and I'm pretty sure probably the most hated table they had throughout the entire week. But no, it was fire, man. It was absolutely delicious. You immediately regret it once you see the bill come around, but you can definitely see how the up and ups in the NFL and stuff, how they just love going to Indianapolis and just wine and dine people for weeks. I will say, while we were there, Keanu Benton was also out to eat with somebody. I don't know who, but it was funny. He was in this nice steakhouse, just in his defensive line 001 jumpsuit. It was a good bit.
So you think it was like an informal interview rather than just like him getting dinner with his mom?
Don't know, honestly. Don't know. He was with a older white gentleman, so I will go on a branch to say it wasn't his mom.
I remember when I was at the Senior Bowl last year, me and some people saw Malik Willis like going to a restaurant with the like Giants general manager Schoen or whatever his name is. So we were like, and that was like obviously still pretty early on in the process. We were like, oh boy, Malik Willis at 5th overall or whatever. So it's always fun to kind of like just jump to conclusions, even
No,
if it's reckless.
it is, and the combine's the perfect time for I know everybody loves to ask it, and I understand why, because if I was a reader, I'd want to do the same thing. People want to know like who's talked with who at the combine, like teams, like with all the people they talk to like a ton of people at the combine, so visits are more important. But I love seeing people connect the dots with talks at the combine, because what was it this time last year? Was it Aiden Hutchinson was talking about how he met with the Jaguars and how people, he was like by far the favorite to go number one at this time, wasn't he?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it was after the combine. Like there was some like rumors swirling around of Trayvon being like a potential sleeper, but like those were all just kind of like rumors at that point.
Just rumors.
Well, what about you? Did you do any whining and dining? You had a really good article on Jaguar Report about kind of just like, I don't know, hot gossip that you picked up. So do you want to like summarize some of your best stuff that you got?
Yeah, no, I was in Indianapolis, for what was it, like probably north of 48 hours. So I was able to go out a few times, talk to some people around the league, some people that I knew, some people that, I was happy to meet. And I think the big thing was, it's kind of played out exactly how, some of them kind of said, Evan Ingram obviously got franchise tagged. The Jaguars, they weren't at all ever going to let Evan Ingram be a free agent. Like I know the hypotheticals were always out there, but when other teams are straight up like, yeah, we're not even bothering doing homework on this guy, that's because it's already like known that, okay, he's gonna, stick around one way or another. So that is something that, they were able to nail exactly. A lot of people thought Jawan Taylor is going to become a free agent, that he's some of the teams are going to really be excited about, just considering how young he is, the fact that he's been really durable, that he's a strong pass blocker. And a lot of people think like it's probably in his advantage to, try to test free agency. And, me and you were talking about it before the show, but you look, even after all the restructures the Jags have done, the extensions, releasing Shaq Griffin today, they're still at like 8 million, like over the cap. Like
Right.
they're still not in a position to compete with anybody for Jawan Taylor unless he wants to take like a big hometown discount. So I think it's pretty clear around the NFL that he's probably going to be playing elsewhere next year. At least that was the vibe in Indianapolis. And then teams think that they're going to good defense in the first round again. I mean, teams think either defense or tight end was what people said. And I don't know if tight end was strictly because Doug Peterson. You and I have talked about, maybe the possible fallacy of Doug Peterson and 2 tight ends. But I mean, when you get down to 24 overall in this class, I feel like I've watched probably a top 20 and 25 guys in this class, like consensus guys, and it's not, in my opinion, a class with 24 bona fide first round talents. Like, every class is good football players, but this class and last year's class to me are boring. I mean, like they're not good draft classes, at least, not in my opinion. So I think it, makes sense for 24 overall for like a guy like Michael Mayer, a guy like Darnell Washington to potentially be the best option there. Not that it would necessarily be a good pick in terms of value or resources, but just because at this point, who else are you going to take? Even though, we'll talk about it later. There are some names who I think are beginning to make more and more sense as they shift towards free agency.
Yeah, that was kind of the biggest takeaway I had from just like combine rumors about the Jaguars from combine week was just like the fact that they're probably going to keep going on defense in the first round because, as you said, like the Engram rumors and the Jawan rumors were like kind of unsurprising, and we've already seen how those have played out. I guess not Jawan, but we kind of can expect where it's heading. But then, yeah, like I mean, I was gonna say on like one of my hot takes in previous shows that I think the Jags should like do offense no matter what, just because I'm sick and tired of them I don't know the number off the top of my head, but I feel like in the past 7 years they've drafted like 9 defensive players in the first round. And so especially like with Trevor Lawrence in town and then like Calvin Ridley getting reinstated recently, which we'll talk about later, it would be nice to see them go like all in around Lawrence and Peterson. But defense seems like the more likely pick, and especially at defensive back specifically, not necessarily corner, not necessarily safety, but defensive back, I guess would be like the leading candidate for position taken at 24th overall for the Jaguars.
I think so. But I mean, I almost want to say, after the combine, like still, like other than Brian Branch, I still think corner is the way to go. Like over even safety. Like this safety class, like I don't see like any like real appeal, to it. Like obviously there's some guys that can play, but I mean you just look at how some of these guys ran, and there were like 2 guys who did better than like 4, 4, 5 or something.
Yeah.
Like if you want to like improve the safety depth, I think that's something they have to do in free agency. So to me, if you're at 2024 or even potentially looking to trade up, I think it's cornerback. I think potentially, maybe there could be some guys defensive line that stand out there. And, as we get closer and closer to the draft, the idea of an offensive lineman, I think in the first round makes a little bit more sense. I mean, I think if you're going to go cornerback, offensive lineman, your first 2 picks, you'll probably get a better pair of players going offensive lineman at 24 and corner in the second round. Then corner in the first round and offensive lineman in the second round. I mean, if you can get somebody like maybe Darnell Wright at 24, I mean, I think that'd be an excellent pick. Maybe not DeJuan Jones. He is maybe too big. When I looked at like his metrics and stuff, it's Jesus, man. Trent Baalke's going to see him and just see Trent Brown all over again, man. He's going to know it, man. Somebody's going to need to hold him back from turning that one in. I can just sense it. Come on, it.
Is it the Tennessee tackle that you're talking about?
No, the Ohio State right tackle who was like 374, 6'8". Oh. Dude, just obscene. They're gonna love him. Come on,
yeah,
it.
No,
he had like 36-inch long arms.
I feel like it's gonna be between him and Washington and Torrance. It's like, well, one of those guys / Brian Branch fall, and then like if not, just like what then?
Yeah, in Torrance, if you go to my account, look at some of the RASs, the relative athletic scores I posted. He's like basically virtually identical with Mike Iupati, who Baalke was there, when the 49ers drafted him and Anthony Davis in the first round. And I mean, if you look at a Torrance, scouting report, I just watched him. I'll have a write up on the website later, and you look at a Iupati scouting report when he was coming out of Idaho. I mean, basically the same thing. So that's another guy. I could be like, he probably definitely sees players that he's drafted before who had relative success. I mean, I'd call Trent Brown and Iupati both probably good picks.
And they're both huge guys. That kind of just like goes with the overall trend of Baalke of like size and length getting off the bus.
They're a bus team. They're a bus team. Man. Getting off. Give me your honest take. Is Aaron Donald impressive coming off the bus?
Oh, I don't know what that was, but
Come
yes,
on.
Aaron Donald is impressive getting off the bus.
Yeah. Like I know Balky's entire argument was about like length and stuff. But I mean, Aaron Donald is like the biggest outlier of like all outliers, and he still went like top 15. Like I know he went underdrafted, but
I feel like in
it's not
terms
like
of
he was
like,
Tom Brady. It's not like he was like a 6th-round pick who the entire league ignored. Like
I think if you like look on like his like whatever that like mockdraftable.com where it has like the webs of like the different measurements, like he was just elite in everything except for like height and length, I feel like he still had like plenty of other great qualities and like had ridiculous film at Pitt. And like I feel like he and DK Metcalf are like the two NFL guys that I think of in terms of like perfect physique. So yeah, that
but
was a pretty ridiculous Twitter take that you're referencing. That Aaron
did,
Donald isn't impressive with a shirt on.
did you watch the Balky interview with Pro Football Talk?
No, I meant to.
Please do. The first
The one where he's
watch
like, that's the one where he references getting off the bus, right?
Yeah, it is. Watch the first at least minute of it.
Okay.
He comes up and Chris Sims is like, your voice a little hoarse. He's like, no, it's always been my voice. It's gonna be my voice as long as I live, or something like that. And it's just the most awkward interaction.
I guess Chris Sims hasn't known him for a long time, huh?
There you go. The combine though, I will say. I mean, I told you, you know, one day if you're ever able to, like combine's the place to be. Like if you like the NFL, like off season in general, man, it's a cool place. It's a cool place to be, and it was honestly like the last time I was at an event like the combine, where it's just like a collection of the NFL was the 2020 Senior Bowl, and when I went there, the Jaguars were just like pretty much mocked by everybody you talk to. And then you go to the combine this week and everybody's like, oh yeah, Doug Peterson, hell of a guy, Trent Baalke, good football guy, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of those two, I was going to ask you like if you had kind of general takeaways from the press conferences, because both of them talked at the combine.
Yeah, they did. And they both did like their national, they get up at the podium and talk, and then they also talked with the local Jacksonville media who came in strong in Annapolis. All three of us. Yeah, it was a big scrum. So yeah, we were able to get them both. I thought one of my biggest takeaways was when Doug Peterson talked about the offensive line. He mentioned how going into the offseason, there's maybe more unknowns than people kind of think. I mean, Ben Barch ended the year injured. Cam Robinson ended the year injured. Brandon Sheriff ended the year injured. Cam Robinson, it's still unclear what the exact timeline is for, when he's going to officially return. So I think there are definitely more questions there than, people probably think. And he mentioned that's why a guy like Walker Little has value. And he mentioned unprompted, maybe Walker Little has value inside. Maybe he has value on the left side. So that to me says there could be a scenario where maybe they get to 24, or they get to the 20s and the board starts to get smaller and they think the best option is to take a right tackle, move Walker Little inside, and then just kind of reshuffle again for a year. And it seems like Walker Little's never going to find a long-term place at this point, but it at least showed me that the Jaguars know that the offensive line is at least an area of need greater than I think people thought. He also mentioned how he thinks like the running backs is a position group that can ultimately get better. He mentioned how it was funny. He was like, the thing they need to do better is just running where we tell them to, basically. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
AKA all my running backs have crap vision.
No. They bounced it outside line, and yeah. I think something Travis Etienne getting more game reps I think is going to be really helpful with that. But that to me just like says like Travis Etienne at like the most raw version he's ever going to be in the NFL was still like a 1,500-yard guy. So like if he can get any better at all, he's like an extremely dangerous piece to have.
Yeah, I think they definitely need like to add different body types to the room too, because I feel like it's like fun to compare like receiver rooms to like NBA teams of like, oh, you need like different body types and whatever. But that's kind of true for like the Jaguars running back room, where they have two like guys who do well in space and Etienne and Hasty right now, but they like desperately need a power guy because Snoop Connor wasn't it, Hasty wasn't it, ETN, wasn't it? So we'll talk about free agency a little bit coming up, and I feel like that could be a good area where they could just kind of like plug in an RB2 and like not really have to worry about it. But it's also interesting because it is a really strong running back class. So like seeing how teams kind of go about finding a guy in free agency versus just waiting until the draft will be interesting for that position.
I don't remember who it was exactly. Somebody at the Draft Network said they had a visit lined up for Tank Bigsby with Auburn. So
yeah,
third, fourth round running back. I mean, and Doug also mentioned, during his national press conference that running back is somewhere they're looking to add to, and they want running back like the backup running backs to play more special teams. I mean, you say that, and then you look at how many special team snaps Snoop Conner played last year, and it's not, exactly, look at that and look at the visit with Tank Bigsby. And it's not, really a great sign for where he's at. He played 0 special team snaps last year, 38 snaps overall. It just kind of seems like the Snoop Conner pick is kind of being, flushed pretty much as quickly as they can.
Right. And I feel like the majority of the snaps came like against Houston in garbage time and just in garbage time in general. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, the one game was against Houston,
right, when he scored the touchdown, which was like good for you.
It was a good run. It was a good run.
Yeah, it was a good run. But I feel like Doug could be like you or I when we play Madden, or like definitely like me, probably like you too. Where like even if like I get like a 95 Derrick Henry on my team, like I'm still throwing the ball 90% of the time. Because like we've talked about how like Doug is like obviously a quarterback at heart, and so I don't know.
In my Madden league, a couple of years ago, we did a fantasy draft, and of course, I ended up being absent from my controller by the time my first pick came.
Oh no!
It automatically took Derrick Henry from me. I was pissed, dude. I'm like he's good, but I'm not gonna.
Right, because like in a Madden draft, every other player takes a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Either quarterback or like Aaron Donald / best of every player.
I also missed my second pick, and it gave me George Kittle.
Mm.
Useless picks, dude.
So you're saying you didn't win the Madden League?
I won a couple playoffs.
All right, that's impressive.
Never won anything.
All right.
It's like the Titans and 49ers.
Oh. All right, well, let's see. We got to the Balky and Peterson pressers. Is there any what other prospects kind of stood out to you in terms of the testing that they did in Indianapolis?
I mean, I think overall, Cam Smith had a better day than I thought he was going to. I mean, you look at how he did, and I don't know whether this is a bias just in terms of how I like to take my information, but I feel like RAS is obviously important, but to me, like a mock draftable web is maybe more indicative. Does that make sense? Because it kind of gives you an idea of how they do, like on a weight adjusted scale and percentile and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty easy to just get carried away by the total overall RAS and be like, ooh, 9.1, this guy's a stud athlete. But then he could be small or not bench or one little thing that's actually he might not last in the NFL. So I get what you're saying.
That Baylor nose tackle actually had a pretty good combine, for his size. But since he's 250 pounds, everything he does is slow and he gets stinged, and people are freaking out and stuff. I'm like, no, he still did good.
Yeah. This nose tackle didn't separate himself from Brian Breesy. He had a terrible combine.
Well, so Cam Smith definitely overall. Darnell Washington. If you're going to talk yourself into a tight end at 24, you have to. There has to be some upside there. And I mean, he obviously, what was it, the second best wingspan of any tight end, at the combine ever or something like that. And then it wasn't even just that. And, he was always somebody, you'd expect to have a better broad jump than vertical. And I think a broad jump is more important for him because he's already 6'7". He doesn't need to jump very high. It's more important for him to be explosive moving forward. But his short shuttle time at his size is not something that I expected or something I really saw on tape at all. I mean, it just shows he's a special athlete. So he's definitely somebody who stood out. I thought Julius Brents, Kansas State, is definitely somebody who kind of put himself on the radar. Darnell Wright is another guy who, out of Tennessee, he really, to me, checks pretty much every box. I know almost nobody really talks about him as an option at 24, but He's played left and right tackle. SEC starter with like 40 something games, former 5-star recruit, and now had a great day of testing. I mean, he's somebody who to me is just continue to check box and box and box. And then, I mean, other than that, obviously the Northwestern defensive lineman, I'm not even going to attempt. I'm not even.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to bring him up because I wasn't wanting to mention him, but I wasn't going to say his name either.
Yeah, he tested like a shorter Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
that's freaking insane.
Yeah, and Myles Garrett is up there with Aaron Donald and DK Metcalf of just the freakiest of the freaks. Yep, for sure.
But I meant to ask this earlier and I forgot. Before we move on, what's your take on the, getting off the bus is impressive, quote?
I mean, I feel like anyone who not that Balky wasn't serious about it, but people probably took it too seriously and ran away with it. But I don't know, he was trying to say that size and length are important, which we already knew that he valued that. So I didn't really think it was a crazy quote or anything. I think it's fair. And I don't.
Is that length important?
No. It's maybe not the most important thing, but it's up there. You're not gonna have there's gonna be people Tank Dell and Bryce Youngs of the prospects who were great college players and just great football players in general. But the NFL is the NFL, and you got to be not just a great football player, but just such a unique body type in terms of just world body types.
I will say, I mean, there have been some guys who have kind of gone against that grain that he's picked up. I mean, Christian Kirk in, free agency last year, for example, I mean, he's 12th percentile among receivers and, arm length. Of course, he's just a slot receiver and stuff like that. But, there are exceptions here and there. But I thought so, too. I thought people, went overboard with it. But it does kind of show that, for as much as I think Michael Mayer is a really good player, and I'd probably take him in the 24th overall pick, he's kind of a T-Rex. And I'm not sure if Balky's going to take a guy like him in the first round. Oh, yeah, no, dude, his arms are short. He was 7th percentile or something embarrassing like that. It was bad enough that I have really short arms and
Same.
legit, bro. I have 29 inch arms or something like that. It's bad, dude. Michael Mayer had 7th percentile inch arms to the point where I would have faked an injury. Honestly, just so my arm length is in public knowledge.
You don't have to fake an injury. I feel like everyone can just say nah, I don't feel like it if they don't feel like doing certain drills at this point.
I would have faked an injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it'll be interesting to see where he ends up, because if he's drafted in the first round, then people could be disappointed with how he starts off his career and maybe even his overall career. But if he's taken in the second, then it's I could see him being a steal. I don't know. I just feel he's one of those guys where it's people are thinking a little bit too hard about it. Where it's I don't necessarily think he should be a top 24 guy, but easily a top 50 guy.
Yeah,
with T-Rex arms.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, it doesn't change anything how really I see his game. I still think this tight end class is kind of him and Washington, and then everybody else. And I mean, even for Jaguars purposes, the Ingram we'll talk about later, but the Ingram tag makes guys like Kincaid and Musgrave just don't draft those guys at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Even the worthwhile, valuable.
No, I think that's definitely a good point. Is that there's a specific mold that the Jaguars would have to go after as a tight end too? Because I read an article today about just free agent fits with new teams, and it was Mike Gesicki to the Jaguars, and it was they were the article was quoting how Doug Peterson likes 2 tight end sets, and so yeah, that's true, but Ingram and Gesicki are both basically just big slot receivers. Yeah. So that makes no sense at all. That's why Darnell makes so much sense, is because you kind of have a better 1-2 punch versus just a 1-1 punch or whatever. So
Gesicki would be yeah, dude, that would just be an absolute galaxy brain addition. Where was that? Where was that?
It was a Football Outsiders post published on ESPN.
Gotcha.
So it was the Shat's main guy.
That is
who generally I think is solid, but
yeah, no, he is good. That is what is it? I posted it when I saw the Daniel Jones numbers and Silvio at the intervention. Disgusting.
Bro, the Daniel Jones extension, when I saw it, I guess we might as well skip ahead since we're talking about it. But like when there was like reports that he was gonna get 40 plus, I was like, well, that's disgusting, but I didn't really think anything of it. And then when it came out officially yesterday, like that was the most shocked I've been about sports news in some time. I was like, it's literally Blake Bortles, and this is literally what the franchise tag is for. Like, what are we doing here?
Yesterday set back quarterback discourse like 30 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yesterday
dude.
was a horrible day. Yesterday was
Oh my
absolutely
gosh.
terrible for quarterbacks, dude.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, the Daniel Jones deal, like, I think he's probably better than Bortles, but like he still threw 15 touchdowns, dude.
Yeah, I mean he is better
Just
than
tag him.
Bortles, but yeah,
Just tag him. I know you probably couldn't do anything in free agency if you did, but
yeah,
even
like they would have been like really worried about Saquon, which I feel like is like the big factor. Is that they signed Jones so that they could tag Saquon, but no, just tag
having to give
Jones.
Daniel Jones $160 million so you can franchise tag Saquon. When you say it out loud, it's stupid, right?
Oh man, and like
Right?
like if the Giants had just like lost 2 more close games this year, which would have been like very feasible, like how different could their like offseason look?
Yeah. Now, I mean, I won't say I watched every single Giants game, but it literally like when the Jags played them, like they run a Pop Warner offense. I mean, they do the same thing like I do. Just okay, let's put one of our fastest kids at quarterback and just have him run left and run right all game. Yeah, like they honestly, if they had done this with Blake Bortles and had a coach smart enough to, he probably would have done a lot better. Like just turn him into a pure runner, lots of RPOs, basically cut the field in half and stuff and make everything easy on him. Nobody ever did that with Blake Bortles. If they did, Jaguars probably would have given him like $160 million.
That's true. I feel it just felt like they lived off the crossing routes, the dump offs. Oh man! All right, should we talk about Lamar a little bit since we're on the subject?
Disgusting.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like collusion.
I don't see like the upside. Like I 100% get like both sides. Like it's perfectly reasonable for Lamar to demand like fully guaranteed money after Deshaun Watson got it. And it's perfectly reasonable for the Ravens to be livid at the Browns for giving. And like it's not even like a secret what the issue is. Like somebody retweeted it yesterday. Like it's literally like the Ravens owner said it last year. It's like, no, giving Deshaun Watson this much money is going to make everything hell.
Yeah.
And I honestly think like unless a guy like Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert does the same thing and like ask for fully guaranteed, Lamar is probably going to get shafted. So I'm interested. I would love to see Mike Brown's reaction if Joe Burrow asked for like $300 million guaranteed money.
I would because like the difference in the reactions between him and Shad Khan too, like Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence are both going to be paid so much money, but like how that looks could be like completely different just based on like how much cash available their owners have.
Did you see that Doug acknowledged Trevor's contract coming up?
Yeah, was that also like unprompted or did someone kind of ask him?
That was an athletic story he did with Jeff Howe, whatever. And
resident Jaguar / Dolphin / NFL reporter.
Yeah, no. that was a story he did with him, but it at least shows that like the obviously, they're thinking ahead, but the Jaguars know like a Lawrence deal's on the horizon, which makes me think, they won't pussyfoot around it and, try to start negotiations like way down the road. Like it's probably better if you just start next year because he's probably gonna get paid after Hurts. But you kind of want to pay him before Burrow and Herbert get paid, right?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like in all of like the contract articles I've read recently, it's been like Hurts, Herbert, and Burrow are next in line with like no mention of Lawrence. But then like when I was reading the Peterson quotes, it was like he was trying to put it off like, oh, like in a year or two or like just whenever it happens. But it definitely seemed like it was more of like, okay, we might try to get this done like specifically next offseason.
Yeah, I mean, because I'm just looking at all these other guys coming up. Like, there's nobody else, basically after Trevor. Right now it's those guys that you mentioned in Trevor in terms of new money, and obviously Lamar whenever he gets paid. So like, if you're the Jaguars, you don't, really want to wait. Like to me, it doesn't make sense to have him be like the last one to get paid out of those 4 guys because then you're probably paying, even more out the nose than you're going to anyways.
I agree. It definitely makes way more sense to like just get the deal done and then kind of go to everything else than to start with all the other free agents and like off-season business. Like while your franchise quarterback savior is maybe going to stay with the team, probably going to stay with the team. That would be very suspect ground to be on.
I mean, what other like young quarterbacks are set like to get paid like after Trevor? Like Mac, I guess.
No.
Fields.
I mean, when is their 5th-year option? They'll be playing on it in 2024, right?
2025, I think.
I think Fields could get not an extension in the lines of the other quarterbacks that we've named because the other quarterbacks have like proven stuff that Fields hasn't. But I also think that's like enough time for Fields to prove himself.
That's fair. That's fair. And
yeah, I agree. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's nobody else. There's nobody else after that. It's Trey Lance is nobody at this point. Zach Wilson might be in the AFL, XFL, whatever the league is at that point. Is it USFL? Like what is it now? The XFL, right?
It feels like there's 18 of them. There's like an XFL and then a USFL and then like I don't even know. Didn't the Jags sign someone today? Didn't they like a quarterback from one of the leagues?
No, was it today?
I was like on Spock Track earlier at work, and I feel like I saw something.
Like Nathan Rourke?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago.
Maybe it just like popped up in Roto World today.
He had like 14 workouts, my friend. You watch out. Nathan
Rourke's with the Jaguars, or like, what do you mean?
You ass.
Well, I kind of feel like for Lamar, like at first, like the Ravens move was like, okay, we kind of want other teams to offer him because then that's gonna like, I don't know, create like an actual market because like obviously they're on opposite sides of the guaranteed money. So like having other teams kind of set the market for them might help them out. And so then obviously the team saying like, no, we're not going to pursue Lamar feels like it's like collusion and that like they don't want to give him a fully guaranteed deal. But I also feel like it's the owners being like disunited too, of being like, screw you, Ravens owner. Like we know that Lamar's not going to come to our team because you're just going to match the offer sheet that we offer him. So we're not even going to try.
Like people can't act like it's normal for like so many teams to leak that they're not interested in even because like it's not even that you have to trade for him. Like they're saying like we're not even interested in talking to him. Like come on now, that's not normal.
Yeah, like for like even just one team, like everyone on the internet was stunned that the Falcons said no, just because like partly because I thought it was like one of the most fun places to imagine them going. But then yeah, when it was 6 different teams in one afternoon saying explicitly that we're not going to pursue Lamar, it was like all the sirens started going off.
The Falcons having a terrible week.
A terrible what?
Terrible week.
Because of
did you read Ridley's letter?
Yeah.
They look terrible in that.
Yeah, it didn't look good.
Nah. Sports medicine sucks.
Right? Which is weird. I don't know. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of smart people. You would think
you would think they have all
want to go into sports or something.
You think they'd have all the resources. So yeah, no, Falcons are a zombie franchise. Like I saw somebody, not name an account, somebody had to take there like, well, it makes sense for teams like the Falcons and Panthers and Commanders to say they're out on Lamar. They don't want to trouble the waters with their young quarterbacks. And I'm like, it's Sam Howell and Desmond Ridder and Matt Corral.
Yeah, no, it's such a bad excuse. Even for Tua, it's like, even if it was Tua, like without any of the concussions, it's like Lamar is such a big upgrade. Like, how could you like? And like clearly, like like not just the NFL, but sports leagues in general have shown that it's a business. So like I don't know why they're playing like the nice card of like, oh, we love our quarterback.
That's so mean. Even without being concussion prone, this kid sucks.
I didn't say he sucks. I'm just saying he's not Lamar Jackson.
No, I agree.
He kind of sucks though, in Pico.
It does. Can Miami even do it? Like, are they even able to? Like, they don't have a pick.
Right. I was gonna say like if they did do it, it would have to be after the.
Gus is no longer making any noise. So we're no, you're not. So I'll keep it going at this point. Nope, nothing, Gus. Yeah.
You hear me now?
Stay with us, folks. There you go. There you go. Okay. I'll edit this all out. Except on the video. Thank you. This is what you get when you subscribe to the YouTube channel. You get the outtakes.
How about now?
You get the outtakes.
I don't know what just happened.
You good.
I'll try to not move as much.
No, the Lamar situation upsets me too.
Yeah.
You know, you're over here throwing your headphones across the room, punting your cat.
It's because you won't let me change my Super Bowl pick. That's why.
Yeah. No. No, okay, you definitely cannot change it. Why are you picking the Ravens when they're here in this sea of uncertainty? They got Rashad Bateman on Twitter saying that their trainer is the dude from God. What was that movie with John Voight where he plays the high school football coach who just keeps getting his dudes like destroyed? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's. Why the Ravens?
Okay. So I was looking over, I was on DraftKings or something like that, just looking over Super Bowl odds. I don't know why, but I was I like to sell high and buy low is pretty fun to do, especially it just feels good being right about those situations. So I was basically looking for buy low Super Bowl teams, and I was like, hey, I mean, if the Ravens get a cornerback too, replacing Marcus Peters, and they just get Lamar back on the team, then that automatically makes them a top 8-ish contender, if not top 5, 8-ish. So yeah. But my last question on the Lamar thing is, if he doesn't go back to Baltimore, what are the teams that you would like to see him play for?
Detroit.
Yeah.
I'm entirely uninterested in Jared Goff.
I agree, but I think the problem is that Brad Holmes or whoever their general manager is very interested by Jared Goff. He keeps hyping him up this offseason. Every other GM is this guy's a quarterback, but you never know. And then he's like, oh, I love Jared Goff.
Las Vegas?
Gross. I mean, I'm probably a bigger McDaniels guy than the public is, because I think
he took Tebow.
He took Tebow. Stop. No, you're not allowed to talk anymore. I'm giving you my 2 because those were that was one good team. Easily the best 2 would be the Dolphins, even though we talked about how they're in love with Tua and also kind of sort of in love with Tom Brady in the side. But McDaniel, those 2 receivers, and Lamar is I would quit everything I'm doing and move to Miami and try to cover that team. And then same thing with San Francisco. Those weapons plus Kyle Shanahan plus Lamar Jackson. I mean, John, what's happening? Are you just naming the grossest teams on purpose?
What? Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
I guess, but it's their line just feels so banged up.
Okay. I got 2 more in me. Carolina I like. Okay. Give me one more. Give me not the Jets. I mean,
I was about to say, if the Jets had a coaching staff that I trusted, I would say they should be all in for Lamar.
I can't believe the Jets are marrying the idea of Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, that's going to end up terrible. Is a Jet at this point, right? Because the Jets are desperate for him, and the Packers are seem desperate to get rid of him. So I feel it's got to happen at this point.
It's Jets or retire. It seems like. I don't know what the funnier outcome is. It might be him retiring, and then getting his rights traded to Houston when he tries to retire.
Well, I feel the funnier short term would be him retiring, because it's I would think that you do psychedelic drugs and go on a darkness retreat to try to lose your ego and practice mindfulness, but instead it seems he comes out with the opposite, with a bigger ego and wanting more attention. So then I don't know, just after all the BS of the past few seasons, him retiring would be pretty funny.
That was deep.
Yeah.
Have you been on darkness retreat?
No, but it sounds interesting to me. Whereas I feel it's gotten a lot of hate, and like I understand that like people are making fun of it because it's funny and like that's very fair. But like I don't know, I feel like a darkness retreat could be interesting.
I like the meanness in the meanness in the non-weirdest way possible. I would pay for like a reality show to watch you like in a darkness like retreat in like a hobbit like space.
And like a what?
Hobbit like space, like what they said Aaron Rodgers had. Schefter
Yeah.
said it was hobbit like.
I mean, yeah, you would have to set like an over under for like amount of hours that I would start talking to myself because like I don't know. No sound or no light is like pretty tough. So I feel like eventually I would just get bored and like since I have no light, I'd have to like start making sounds myself just to keep myself from going crazy. Because I feel like the point would be to like clear your mind as much as possible.
I can't.
Yeah, I know it's like impossible. Simply become enlightened. Just get
there's
awakened.
no darkness. There's no darkness retreat in this world that can clear this mind, buddy.
Okay. You got any other Lamar takes? Let's move on. Like, I guess keeping with the theme of contracts, though, the Jaguars, while we're not expecting them to be very active in free agency, considering their cap space, they were very active in the past week or two in terms of contract restructures because they restructured Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Brandon Sheriff, and then they also extended Roy Robertson Harris, JaMychal Hasty, and CJ Beathard. And so, yeah, what does that mean, John? Explain it to me like I'm Michael Scott, like I'm 5 years old.
You're a child. So they've basically have done everything you can do, like in terms of like roster management to save cap space at this point, other than three things, which is like extending or releasing Jamal Agnew, which all indications to me have been that Jamal Agnew is going to play this season on his current number. So, you know, basically it seems like the Jaguars are just accepting, you know, him at you know, on the last year of his deal at his current rate. Don't think he's going anywhere. Restructuring Rayshon Jenkins, which is pretty much the only player they can restructure who they haven't yet.
Foye Oluokun was also restructured. I didn't mention his name.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
And releasing Caleb Chason, which saves you what, $3 million?
Yeah, I was gonna say even like the Agnew one, it's like it saves money to like.
No, if they do all those moves, they save like I think like $6 million altogether. Like so, it's like they're at where they're at. You know, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to bring back anybody they haven't brought back at this point.
The only other one I'll throw out there would be trading Cam Robinson, but like I don't really know what it looks like for his contract in terms of like how much money they would actually be saving and like whether or not it would have to be like a pre or post June 1st trade. But then also like even if like there's just like not going to be a market right now, or at least until like after teams like at least go through free agency and like whiff on a tackle.
I don't even know if he'd pass a physical right now.
That too, yeah. Like I honestly like completely forgot about the injury until you like mentioned it earlier in the podcast. So yeah, I mean, I think it was a decent galaxy brain, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, you and I talked about it. The best case scenario was when it came to, you know, they were always going to keep Evan Ingram. The best case scenario was, you know, agreeing to a long-term deal with him before March 15th so that you can lower his 2023 cap hit. And then I know in 2024, they're set to have a ton of cap space. Obviously, you know, you're going to need to use that on some guys like Calvin Ridley. You'll have Tyson Campbell coming up, etc. Devon Hamilton contract, which is sure to break the bank.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and it they basically get to not spend on the whole draft class. It's nice.
Yeah. So like I would say that it's fair to assume that the reason they're clearing up space is basically just to make room for their draft class, because it's fair to say that like in free agency they're not really going to be heavy hitters at all, and like it's going to be like a few exciting role players at best. Am I right?
What do you mean, man? They signed Calvin Ridley.
That was very exciting. Today was a very good day to be a Jaguars fan because like that Players Tribune article was like awesome by him. it was like, even if you want to be like a loser and be like, oh, the players don't really write it, they have the ghostwriters. Like, obviously, like it comes from them, even if they aren't writing it word from word. And his article was like just as good as any other ones on the Players Tribune.
I don't think anybody had any of like the context of like why he left like the Falcons, and now, when you read it like that, you're like, okay, well, that makes sense. Why wouldn't you?
I think it's like there was reports that he had like was going through like mental issues, and then there was a report that his house got robbed, and there was like might have been a report that he was playing on a broken foot in 2022, which was like a pretty significant nugget from the article. But like, yeah, to just like hear him say it in his own words, and then just to be excited, like the quote that was on my daughter's name. With Trevor Lawrence, if I'm healthy, I'm putting up 1,400 yards every year for Jacksonville. That got me going. That got me like, the Kermit the Frog gif. Yeah, that one. That was good to read. And then like the video too of him just like meeting Balky and Peterson. You had a photo that was hilarious of like the two of them.
They were so happy.
Peterson and Balky had the biggest grins. It was like Christmas morning for them. And then Calvin Ridley retweeted your tweet, which is great.
It was funny because Peterson, he's kind of been keeping all of his excitement bottled up until now. Like every time he's been asked, like even at the combine about Calvin Ridley, he was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like somebody asked him how he's going to fit in the offense. He's like, I don't know. We haven't met him yet. And then you watch the video today, and it's like a kid on Christmas, dude.
Yeah.
Like just the idea of him just straight up replacing Marvin Jones, and then it's the same offense from last year. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, the Jaguars are in a good spot for Ridley because when you read about his foot, okay, it's probably for the best that he hasn't played in a while, some less wear and tear on him. Mm-hmm. And then also for once, the Jaguars are a good franchise for a player like Ridley because I don't know did you watch his interview with Bucky Brooks?
No.
Okay,
like the one that the team released.
Yeah. He talked about how like the Jaguars having success like kind of helped like re-energize him and get him excited for football. Like, okay, the 2019 Jaguars couldn't have traded for Calvin Ridley. Like they would have, like he would have wanted to stay away from football. Like 2021 Jaguars couldn't have traded for Calvin Ridley. Like, but they're at a point now where they are on that trajectory, positively enough that people like Ridley and people, other players of the league actually want to be a part of what they're doing, which is pretty much a first for, since I've been there.
Yeah. And it's like not just him too, because like the thing that was so exciting about the DeAndre Hopkins rumors about how he wanted to be in Jacksonville was like, obviously it's like awesome to imagine him like as if you're building a Madden roster or whatever and adding to the offense. But like, more than that, just like the fact that he specifically said, I want to play with Trevor Lawrence, I want to play in Jacksonville, is like just has massive implications. So today was really exciting in terms of like everyone kind of expected him to get reinstated, but it was one of those things that's like now that it's done, you can kind of take a deep breath and be like, here we go.
Hey, we nailed the timeline.
Yeah, that's true.
After the combine, baby.
Yeah, and before the league year, right?
Yeah.
Do you think like this offseason's going by going by pretty quick? Because like free agency is next week, which is like I think it's maybe partly because there's an extra week added to the season, but still it's like free agency's next week. Usually I have like an entire like mock offseason thing where I've been grinding like these scrub free agents for the Jaguars to sign, and like I don't know, maybe I just have less time too, but it's coming up quick.
I think it's both. Like I definitely have less time. I think you probably definitely have less time, but it's also like it's flown by super quickly. Like it used to feel like that was kind of the dead space in the offseason was between the Super Bowl and free agency. And now, like you said, it feels like it's literally here immediately. And this time last year, I was in a car heading to mountains in North Carolina before the Jaguars did free agency. So this time, I'm gonna make sure I'm staying here as they do nothing at all. But no, yeah. it definitely like the draft is in like 50 something days, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean less than 2 months.
Yeah, so it's
next month technically.
Yeah, it's definitely flying by.
Yeah, well, as we've said numerous times, the Jags aren't going to be signing anyone super exciting in free agency. But are there any names that kind of stand out to you? There was it Sheldon Rankins? There was a defensive tackle you mentioned recently as like a good under the radar guy.
How's this? Byron Murphy.
Yeah. Yep.
Come on, sell me on him. Sell me this pin. Sell me on him.
Okay. Athletic cornerback who has inside outside versatility, is a little bit short, but I mean he's basically young and athletic, and like anytime there's a young and athletic and like not too injured player that hits free agency, like they're gonna get scooped up by another team because those guys are just like rare to come across in free agency. So like Byron Murphy and then Rocky Sin was, I don't know how much he's played in the slot per se, because I feel like the Jaguars are definitely looking for someone with the versatility. But those were like two just like young corners who are kind of like looking for a new spot that I thought could be interesting.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel like corner and defensive line are going to be the positions they have to look at. Yeah, how about Manuel Mosley?
Yep, he's like one of my sleepers. Someone like I sent that into like a Twitter group chat yesterday. Is Emmanuel Mosley and Chauncey Gardner Johnson, who's like a little bit of a head case. Although Baki likes that,
A little
but
bit.
more so he's going to be like probably too expensive for the Jaguars. So I'm trying
Yeah.
not to like get too excited for him. But like Chauncey and Mosley would be two guys. Jimmy Ward.
No. What about?
Because I saw he's a free agent. He played in the
Yeah.
slot pretty well last year. So like hypothetically, it's a good scheme fit. But
What about Raheem
yeah.
Nunez Roches from Tampa Bay? Nothing. We appear to have lost Gus. Okay. Don't worry. We'll get him back. Hey, Gus.
Hey, buddy.
It's okay.
I just feel like we're having like a great pod so far, so I feel bad about interrupting the flow too.
You know, no flow interrupted. We're still rolling. We're still recording. I figured out how to kick you and add you back
Oh
while still
yeah,
recording. So yeah, so we're good.
All right, we're still good. What were we
I
talking about? Free agents.
I thought you just hated me saying Raheem Nunez Roches.
No, I didn't even hear that.
Yeah.
I wasn't online for it. Maybe I
So
just
come-
felt in my bones that you were going to say that name.
Yeah. So come on now. Come on. Give me. Yeah. I like a defensive tackle. You know, Mike Caldwell knows he's a big guy. Not a sexy name, but he's a name.
Okay, here's a sexy name for you. Clellan Farrell, or however you say his name, because he's got 35-inch arms and used to be coached by Buckner. I just read like an article that was like apparently the
Yeah.
Jags D lineman Buckner like used to coach Farrell and like the Raiders D line, and he like vouched for him a lot in the past. So I was like, I mean, if he's like looking for like a flyer kind of deal, and like Buckner is still vouching for him, then
Fair.
maybe.
What about Bradley Roby?
If you had asked me like a year ago, especially 2 years ago, I would have been all in. But like, I feel like he just like hasn't done anything recently, and it's like I think they're gonna add to the cornerback room, and it's kind of like a matter of like which cheap vet they're gonna be able to get.
Yeah.
So like, I'd be fine with Roby because I think he was pretty underrated in the past. I just don't know how he is right now.
Marcus Davenport.
I think he's gonna be too expensive, and he's
Yeah.
been too injured in the past. But I'd be interested.
You think he's gonna get paid?
I think he's gonna get paid.
Interesting.
I've got two interesting cut candidates for you. Corey Davis. I mean, like if Jamal is going to be on the team next year, then like you kind of don't really need, because like Mecole Hardman was another name I was interested in as like basically a guy to do the Agnew role, especially since like Andy Reid's Chiefs drafted him in the second round.
Yeah.
So obviously that like offense prioritizes that type of player. But Yeah, Agnew. Since Agnew's sticking around, I feel like the only like mold of receiver the Jags really need for 2023 is like big body.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Davis would be interesting. Like, if you're going to add a receiver, Davis is probably like about as interesting as you're going to get this year. I mean, just that's why the Ridley move was so prudent, because like this year's like receiver group just it's not enticing at all.
Like Michael Thomas is like the most enticing, even like with the knowledge they probably run the 4.8 right now.
And
like I think like your 10U under team, like half of them could beat him in a race.
Like, if Calvin Ridley is a free agent, he's by far the like biggest like receiver on the market, right?
Because like right now, I feel like it's probably Jacoby Myers is like the consensus, who's like a fun and good player, but is like someone that you'd expect to be a wide receiver too.
What about Odell?
I mean, I'd be down, but I feel like any team he signs with is like going to be pretty incentive heavy, unless some team is just like is so desperate for him that they give him a decent amount of guaranteed money. But like, it's been so long since he's. I mean, I think he was like a pretty like real contributor for the Rams Super Bowl run, and people like don't give him as much credit as he probably deserves for like that year.
Yeah,
like, he still hasn't played in a while.
Since what? That Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, he did something in that Super Bowl. I forget what the injury was.
Robert Tonyan Jr.
No. What about? I'm not even going to entertain that one. What about another candidate, Zeke Elliott, which probably doesn't make sense because I think if he is cut, it would be post June 1st, and by then, like the Jags will have already figured out their position. But I feel like hypothetically Zeke would be a good fit.
Irv Smith.
I mean, of all the free agent tight ends available, Irv Smith is probably like the most interesting, but he still doesn't really get me that excited. He's like one of the guys that's been like burning fantasy players for 18 years, it feels like.
I got one more interesting one for you.
Okay.
I'll give you Zeke Elliott.
Have any of these been interesting, John?
No. I'll give you Zeke Elliott. It's probably the most interesting. I got you. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Mercedes Lewis.
Yes. Okay, that's the best one. I like that one.
Tell me why it doesn't make sense.
Why it does not make sense?
Yeah.
In case there's like still hurt feelings from not being like a Jag for life, or like because he's 38 years old or whatever it is.
He got to miss out on Urban Meyer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what if
he's I think it'd be 40? Fun. I mean, I assume he'd be better than Chris Manhurst was last year.
You hate Chris Manhurst.
Just me?
Yeah. Chris Manhurst did good in his role last year, I thought.
I think I think what happened was he was like pretty underwhelming in the first few games, and then like as I kind of like wasn't able to watch film consistently throughout the year, he was like a little bit more consistent. So like we were on different paths. I'm sorry, Chris. We weren't meant to be.
Throw that in my face, why don't you? Wasn't able to consistently get film, i.e., you weren't getting it to me on time, and I thought, I'm sorry.
No, that's not what I was saying. I just got busy / like uninterested in watching the film as the year goes on, because like obviously the season is draining. It had nothing to do with you, seriously.
Your words ring loud.
I'm gonna try to see if I have any other like free agents written down. I kind of feel like we got to all the
this free agency class stinks.
It does, honestly.
So I'm sorry, this free agency class stinks. This draft stinks. Like,
yeah.
Be happy, in my opinion, they got Calvin Ridley and did something. Because to me, Ridley counts as their offseason swing as they try to contend for this year. That's how I'm gonna at least say it in my head as I cope with how boring the next month or so will be.
I think that's a fair point, though. I mean, maybe it is a little bit of copium, but I don't think you're wrong at all.
I mean, why weren't more teams like in on trading for him?
I don't know. I was thinking about that earlier today. It's like, I wonder if like was Balky the only GM to call?
No, there were a couple other teams that were calling Atlanta, but obviously none came as close as the Jaguars.
I wonder if, I mean, I know that you said that Ridley like kind of got re-energized to play football because of how the Jags did after he was traded to them, but like I feel like maybe like he had like a list of teams he was interested in, and the Jaguars were one of them. because he did grow up in, I don't know what part of Florida, but in Florida.
Yeah.
And he mentioned in his article today that he was like excited to be closer to home and back in the state. So, all right, I've got 3 names. Jonathan Jones.
Has he played inside?
He was like the defensive player of the year basically for the first 6 weeks of last season, and then he like started moving outside to cover all number ones, and then like the kind of like bigger guys just beat him up a little bit. But like he's like a very good slot corner.
Is he going to get paid?
I think he might be. That's like my one reservation.
So yeah, yes, horrible.
Julian Love.
Yeah, I feel like they could improve their safety depth.
And the last one is another Patriot, Damian Harris, because I feel like he's a pretty solid player. And then like it was just one of those things that his time ran out because of Stevenson with the Patriots, and like Belichick is obviously known for not holding on to players for too long. But like I still think he's a good player, and like the Jags need an inside the tackles grinder, which is what he is.
Yeah, no, I think he's a good player. I think that's definitely, honestly, probably like if you want to look for like types of running backs that they should try to put around, Travis Etienne, I think that makes sense. I mean, maybe Foster Moreau,
yeah,
Marcus Epps.
It's a bad free agency class, man. It's like Orlando Brown is like the best non-quarterback available.
Poona Ford.
Ooh, I actually kind of like Poona Ford. He caught my name when I was looking at free agency last night.
Yeah, no, this like free agency class, it's awful. It's like all guys who have been signed and tagged already.
I feel like every year there's like a bunch of like vet D tackles where it's like they're all like interesting of like a 6 or 7 out of 10, and then but it's like it just depends on like where they end up and how healthy they end up being for the next season for their production.
If they could add any one player from this class, I'd probably say Draymond Jones or Zach Allen.
Draymond Jones would be like so great, but like I just figure he's gonna get way too much money for the Jaguars to even consider.
He is. I want him strictly because he was like, what is it? Cutting a promo on Urban Meyer, like in week 3 of Urban Meyer's head coaching tenure. So it's like some Broncos guy like asked you, like, "Are you surprised the reports coming out of Jacksonville dysfunction?" He goes, "No, I'm not surprised."
Wait, did he go to Ohio State?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And this was before they played the Jaguars that week.
Yeah.
Like I remember in that entire week, like I was like, I want to ask Urban about Draymond Jones's comments, but I genuinely don't know if he would know who he is. I really don't.
Yeah. Okay. I always like going to look at the backup quarterback free agent class, honestly, which isn't really relevant now because of the Beathard extension, but like Jacoby Brissett could have been fun. Okay.
You don't. What did Doug say at the combine? You don't want them to threaten the quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah. So what?
Says the guy who like wrote an article about drafting a quarterback every draft.
I know. Didn't he take Hurts and then the whole Foles debacle? The free agent quarterbacks: it's Wentz, Mariota, Mayfield, Darnold, Jimmy G, Bridgewater, Case Keenum, Brissett, Mason Rudolph, Flacco, Andy Dalton, and Mike White. God help you.
I would do
Taylor Heineke also.
Mike White is definitely overrated generally, but I would still sign him. With that said, and then Sam Darnold would probably be like the young quarterback with like maybe he's got some potential because he was a former first round pick that I would like just throw on my team.
This is an obscene thought, but I wouldn't mind seeing Sam Darnold as a Trevor Lawrence backup one day.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I want to circle back to contracts just because to try to like clear it up for myself and everyone else. When the Jaguars do restructures, like this time I'm serious when I say, like, explain it to me like I'm five or like I'm Michael Scott. Because like in terms of like adding the void years and like doing like pushing signing bonuses to the back, there's a lot of like kind of buzzwords and like people like read it, but like I feel like don't really fully understand it. So my grasp on it, and you can just tell me like whether or not I'm wrong or on the right track, is that like the team will take guaranteed money from the like near future and just push it back in the form of signing bonuses in later years, so that like as soon as like if they push it back like a to make a signing bonus bigger in 2025, just as soon as the 2025 year starts, the player gets that like big signing bonus. So it's just like pushing back a bunch of guaranteed money in the form of signing bonuses.
Yeah, and it's basically like making sure that player, like for those years, is more or less like if you restructure a guy, he's there basically for the duration of his contract.
Right. And it's just like because I don't know if Roy Robertson Harris got 4 years, but I think Foye definitely did. And it's like if you look at the contracts, like whatever the void years are, it's like they're not playing on that. It's just like I don't know. I guess it's hard to explain without a contract in front of me, but
No, it is. And Fourier is the one. I think Fourier got like 3 void years. I want to say Fourier is the only one that did void years for, and that's like basically the player is still getting the money, but they're getting it, at in different like allocations and at different times than they previously would have. And you can do it as long as you have the equity, to pay those, cash amounts. And so basically, if you have an owner who's willing to spend, there's a difference between cap space and available cash, which is, super important. Like how much a player gets paid cash wise can sometimes be very different than their cap hit, which is, teams like the Eagles, that they're awesome at, players, they most of the time their cash is higher than their cap, so they're able to, keep players happy while also keeping them at a reasonable cap hit, which is more or less, what the Jaguars are trying to do. And they're trying, it's basically asking the owner to spend money so that they can, free up money for right now and kick it down the road and have the owner agree to pay that money when the bills due. So your owner has to be on board with it and willing to do it. And to me, it's at the very least a sign that Shad Khan has basically given them like a blank check and said, okay, do what you got to
do. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. But I like usually it seems like a bad idea just because you don't want to end up like the Saints where you're like not like I don't care what anyone says, like the Saints are in cap hell and like Derek Carr is going to lead them to a 10-win season at best, and then they're just going to be stuck in mediocrity. And because like they keep pushing contracts to the future, but like the one reason that actually makes sense for a lot of teams now, including the Jaguars, is because of the just like the way the cap is going to rise. I mean, first of all, because COVID brought it down, so then it was like, oh crap, like us as NFL teams don't have a lot of money right now because of COVID, so let's like push stuff to the future after COVID when it goes back up. So COVID in the past and then TV deals in the future are gonna make it shoot up. So it does make sense for even though like they have a quarterback on a rookie contract, so hypothetically they'd be like paying out other non-quarterback players a lot now. It does make some sense to push it farther to the future.
That's my response to every questionable contract and free agency. Cap's going up.
Cap's going up.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the outline here, John. I think we might have hit it all.
Yeah. You got any hot takes for me?
Ooh. Shoot, I don't know.
I
guess not.
My hot take is I would trade up for I don't know if it's how much of a hot take it is. I would whatever the cost is, I would trade up into the top 15 for Joey Porter Jr. or Devon Witherspoon.
I like that.
Ringo didn't have the combine I thought he was going to have. Like his 40 was obviously excellent, but I didn't expect him to test as mid as he did in everything else.
Yeah, because I feel like it's definitely like, first of all, Gonzalez feels like he's almost an interior of his own, which like I don't know if like a lot of people would really say that, but just based on like where he goes in every single like mock draft with like,
I think he's definitely the first guy off the board.
Yeah, he's like seems like a locked in first cornerback taken, locked in top 10 pick. And then like Witherspoon could also be a top 10 pick, but it's like he and Porter just like sort of depending on how the board falls. Same with Brian Branch, I'd say like there's like the Packers and then there's one other team I thought of specifically that like really would like someone like Branch that was in front of the
Patriots.
Jaguars. Oh, yes, that's not the team I was thinking of, but yes.
Did Branch's 40 consider it all? What was it? 4.58.
No, because like I don't know, maybe I'm not giving it as much importance as I should, but like yeah, he's a nickel. And I guess because like I was already expecting him to have like a quote unquote underwhelming combine just because he is smaller.
Yeah.
Like it's not like I really expected him to go crazy and anything. It would have been nice. I would have like rather preferred to see like other safeties do well so that it's like if Branch gets picked 19th, then like it doesn't sting as bad. But now it's like you're gonna get Branch in the first or like Johnson somewhere.
I'm not exaggerating, right? Like those safeties tested terribly.
Yeah,
right?
they're all very slow.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Calvin Ridley will be top 5 in receiving yards in 2023.
Ooh. Top 5 in receiving yards.
Yeah. Among all NFL wide receivers.
That
So,
would
not including Travis Kelce.
that would
A
mean
little bit more room to work with.
That would mean he probably would be in line for a new contract now.
You tell me. I don't know.
What do you mean you tell me?
Well, because like what's he on like right now? Does his current
5th year
contract
option.
Oh, he's currently on the 5th year option. I mean, I would give him an extension after today, no matter what. Does it make any sense to like extend him before the season, before he like goes off and try to like?
I'd like to see him. I'd probably want to see him play a game first.
Yeah, yeah, that's too much of a galaxy brain.
Literally just a
not
game.
Smart.
Literally just a game. Not even a second game's not needed. Like get through 4 quarters and then yeah, I'd probably do it.
Yeah.
Don't count preseason.
It's not like he's going to play that anyway. Do you think? Well, I guess he's a new player.
He should.
And he's been out for a while, so yeah, I guess he could.
He should.
I'm just thinking because, like, at this point, no stars really play in the preseason.
I'm excited for them to show absolutely nothing in the preseason again for people to be worried.
I mean, at this point, like, if you pay any attention to preseason, like, I mean, if you're a degenerate gambler, then hats off to you, I guess. But if you just like paying attention to the league, then like you basically just not pay attention to the preseason.
I hate the preseason. I hate it, dude. I hate it.
That's your worst. Is that your least favorite part of the season?
The cover? Yeah. The second half, like, respect all these dudes fighting for jobs and stuff, but that second half's a nightmare.
I would say, though, my least favorite is, like, the hot take might just be that it's, like, in the middle of the season, just because by, like, week 14 or 13 every year, it's, like I almost feel like I'm, like, making myself watch football sometimes because it's, like, I know that in the summer I'm going to be desperate for it. Right. So I got to, like, appreciate it while I can, but, like,
and
it's exhausting.
Suck. They usually suck, too.
Yeah, that too. So this year was different. But this year was weird because it was, like, I was, like, ready to, like, wind down and kind of, like, get into, like, free agency early and stuff. So then, like, they just, like, kept winning, and I was, like, I don't know. I was like on the fence of like, I was like, what are we doing here, guys? Are we going all the way? Or like, can I like not worry about football for a little bit?
Well, what was it? They played 19 games this year from week 1 till the end. Yeah, that's a lot of football, man.
That's a lot of football. Well, I think we've done a lot of podcasting today, John. So I'm okay to wrap it up if you are. Maybe I think we did a little bit of a mini free agency preview today. And then next week, hopefully we'll be back with free agency review / just see what's happening.
I will say before we get off, 1-0 as a Pop Warner offensive coordinator.
Hey, congratulations!
Yes, sir.
What was your best play call? I know you remember all of them, like Sean McVay.
The first play went for like -6 yards. Not gonna lie, dude. So the team we played, like I already know we're not a big team, but I swear to God. They had 2 defensive tackles who were at least each north of 225 pounds. And we played in the 10 and under like division,
Yeah.
dude. They were
Oh my
massive.
god.
It didn't matter, obviously, but they were massive, dude.
Did they bring a little piece of paper written in green crayon that said "I am not"?
I thought the same thing. And then so we scored in the fall. Our offense was, I take blame for it. Our offense was so bad that we scored 1 touchdown and we scored 2 touchdowns in the spring. And after the second touchdown, I didn't see it until I watched the game back. Like in the league that we have, like every game's recorded, which is pretty cool. Like I watched it back, see what they did. The quarterback evidently pointed at a kid as he was running by, then did the shrugs at the end of it, and then hit like an extended gritty. And during the game, a ref came up to me. He's like, "If he does that again, I'm going to flag him." And I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. And then I watched it, and I'm like,
"Oh,
this kid was so frustrated by not scoring for so long that he just had like 3 celebrations in 5 seconds."
Dude, that's incredible. I've got a good celebration story. I'm playing a flag football league, and there's this like random kid on the team that I'm on who like he's good, but he comes up to me every single before every play, being like, "Oh, I'm running a post corner on this one," and it's like, dude, I gotta look at the 6 other people and spread the ball because it's just a casual flag football league. And then but last week he was like, "Dude, I gotta score this week because if I'm scoring, I'm gonna run over to the snack table because there's a concession stand and get some Skittles and pour them down my throat like I'm Marshawn Lynch." And then it was just the most embarrassing thing. It was yeah, he did it and it was funny, but it was also a tight fourth quarter game. And it was dude, we gotta get the conversion here. Get over here.
Did you win?
No. We're 1-4. We need to start sending out some plays because I'm the quarterback, but we got no coordination.
Yeah.
Because half of it's my buddies and half of it's random people. So
I hear you. Do you follow Seth Galino on Twitter at all?
Yeah, has he not tweeted in a year or something? Because I really liked his work when he started at PFF and when he had the podcast with Beyonce, and I feel since he stops the pod, I don't know. I feel I haven't seen a lot of his stuff, but yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, no, he doesn't tweet at all. He plays flag football, and please go to his account and look at the video he tweeted last week. He's the caption was we lost this game by 30, and it's him mic'd up or something during a game, and he tells somebody he's I'm going to show press man, and then I'm a trail and break on this, and he does it and picks it off and takes it back for a touchdown. It starts playing 50. Go watch it. It's good stuff.
So Seth calls it as the defensive back.
Yeah.
Wow, that's sick.
Yeah, it was.
I'm Seth.
I'm a quarterback. It was a good play.
But unlike Seth, I just don't play defense at all.
Yeah. Now I'm basically playing Madden with 9 and 10-year-old kids. I don't do anything. Literally both the touchdowns we scored, I did literally nothing. It's just this kid being a phenomenal athlete.
Well, you can say that about a lot of coaches at a lot of levels, but I'll try to get someone to. My last game of the season is next Monday, so I'll try to get someone to record.
Please do
something cool happening.
Please do, please.
Yeah.
I want to see you in a TL. I've seen Seth Galina. I've seen Mike K run the 40-yard dash, but I haven't seen you.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll give us something to look forward to since free agency might be a little bit dull. But until then, John, it's great catching up. Glad you had a good combine week. And thanks for listening to the 34th episode of the Jaguar Report podcast. Until next time. Immediately leaves.